Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Donna, and here is her story. Hi, Ollie. This is a follow-up to my story before Father's Day, your video titled, Narcissists Will Steal Your Children. I told you about my husband's son who he'd been alienated from, who OD'd, who also may not be his biological child. I remember that one. He was the one whose youngest brother was the golden child, whose wife had dated not only your husband, but all four brothers, starting with your husband. I remember this one. He also has a daughter who had 4 kids, and in the recent past, her demeanor has changed. I believe she is a flying monkey. It's the story where the youngest brother, the golden child, is married to the woman who slept her way through the brothers to gain entrance into the family. The one who acted like a jilted lover. You said it was like she was divorcing my husband and that my mother-in-law had to have known, that the whole family was in on it, as my husband is the one with the professional band. You pointed out that they are punishing him in order to get what they want, and that the golden child had assumed the role of their deceased mother. So it's important to note that the daughter is still in the family framework. I shared your video with my husband. It took a while to digest, but he finally realizes how much of his life has been a lie and why. He shifted a large portion of his anger away from me for telling him the truth, back to the liars where it belongs. One thing you mentioned that we had not thought of was that there should have been some blood work on his son somewhere. Although your insight was difficult for both of us to hear, I believe it encouraged him to seek the truth. I don't think he'd ever given himself permission to. So not long after your video, he traveled back to his hometown and went to every doctor and hospital his son had been to looking for blood work. Although he didn't find any, I found a lab that tests cremated remains. Because the remains were in possession of his ex to be buried with her father, we concocted a story that my husband wants to have his own memorial for his son here in a town we currently reside. With that, he contacted his daughter and asked if she would try to obtain a split of the ashes. I was surprised that his ex was more than willing to split them, given that she didn't want to share with him while he was living. Who knows what her motivations are? Maybe she's looking at something that she could hold over his head. Wouldn't put it past her. We got the ashes and contacted the lab, but they strongly recommended an article of clothing instead, if at all possible, as the chances are much greater in pulling DNA from there than from the ashes. Since we had moved and downsized, we'd given that type of thing either to Goodwill or to his son's best friend, who is now living with the ex's elderly father and hates us both. So he waited while he contacted his daughter again, asking for a personal item for the sake of memorabilia. She found some golf shoes, and we sent them to the lab along with a DNA sample from my husband. His daughter, of course, had no idea what we were doing. They ran the DNA but could not provide conclusive results from the shoes. The lab said again they can test the remains, but they're trying to save us that added expense, having such low odds. They have been very helpful in brainstorming, but we are stumped. At this stage, he asks his daughter again for something that belonged to his son. It's establishing a pattern, and we don't want them to know anything about this. If they knew and he was at their mercy, I doubt seriously his request would be honored. He considered leveling with his daughter, but due to the many recent interactions with her, I don't trust her. She is still in the network controlled by the golden child, and it's important to note that her mother is also in the network. She may be on the outer circle, but she's definitely in it, and has in it as they all participated in the alienation. Please tell me if you see that any differently. No. You can't have any contact with anybody in the circle. Period. Daughter or not. Daughter or not, you can't. If they know what they did to you, did to your husband, there's no way he can have contact with her. Period. So rather than let the cat out of the bag just yet, I've researched counter manipulation, and that's why I'm writing. If they knew why he wanted another item, counter manipulation would not be an option. You can't bluff somebody if you tell them you don't have the cards. I know the woman knows the truth, and my husband deserves an answer after all he's been through, no doubt. She seems to fit the dark triad profile. Every time she's been close to being caught, she successfully made herself the victim and vilified the source of her exposure. She's an extortionist. She's gotten by with numerous counts of fraud, stalking, blackmail, wrecked several marriages. Her list is too long to go into, and I'm sure I only know the tip of the iceberg. While it seems she's brilliantly evil, she's actually dumb as hell. She made statements like she coughed so hard her floating ribs turned upside down, and listed her boyfriend as her stunned stepfather in the obituary. So my thought is the reverse of how they use our virtues against us, to use our weakness against her. To use her weaknesses against her, her fear of humiliation, her emotional outbursts, her inability to think critically, and her ignorance of science. My immediate level scheme is to tell the daughter, who happens to be a nurse, that we had DNA tests run on the shoes and her brother was not a match. To say that the lab, whom we'd been speaking with for 2 months now, called with the results, and the formal results will be mailed next week. I expect her to want to see the results herself, and we would say, absolutely, we'll forward you a copy, no problem. Are you trying to run game on these people? Look. If you're trying any type of manipulation with these people, you're missing the point of no contact. I understand you want to try to get a DNA sample, okay, but if you're going to try to manipulate it out of these people and start, you are only going to give them the opportunity to turn this entire thing against you. She would immediately call her mother, and her mother would come unglued, and hopefully in a meltdown she would go to her default reaction. She'd try to discredit DNA accuracy, which won't work on a nurse, especially since that's who provided the DNA, and then she'd be the pity party, and there's a confession, and there's the confession. You're not going to get the confession from her, even with DNA results. She'll say you made it up. She'll say you lied about it. You said you paid off. She'll say whatever she needs to say. You're not going to expose this woman like this. Of course, I realize that can blow up in our faces. Yeah, horrifically. And then what's the damage? And what's the damage? What's the cost at that point to your husband, to his reputation, and all this? And all this. It's all like, why would you do this? Why? Of course, I realize that could blow up in our faces. However, in addition to my husband's gut instinct and mine, there are also these factors that give me the confidence to take this risk. The mother admitted years ago that she questions her children's paternity. My husband's critical thinking says he was already pregnant when she said she wanted another child. My husband and his son's physical features differ in every respect, with the exception of a close resemblance in hair color only. But that even differs, in my opinion, when same age pics are compared. His daughter already knows their paternity was in question. She knows her mother is lying, manipulating cheater. She knows her mother is wrong for taking her brother out of rehab and dumping him off in an unsupervised environment known for heroin and cocaine. How does the rehab facility not have any type of blood work or any test? Listen, if he's been in rehab, that means his blood has been tested. Somebody other than doctors, what about the rehab facilities? Has he been there? Was he ever arrested? Was he ever on probation? Or do they have his blood? There's got to be other places where that have his blood. The rehab facility would absolutely have to have his blood because they want to know what's in his damn system. Don't be so eager to try to this master manipulation against people that scheme non-stop. They have a counter scheme for everything. For everything. And when push comes to shove, okay, even with DNA evidence, they're going to say you fucking did something to the DNA evidence. They're going to say it's not real. You used a fake sample. It doesn't work. It's voodoo science. It won't fucking matter. And even when cornered, what is the end result of narcissism? Class violence. And you already have the entire family against him as it is. Like you're putting on a meat suit and walking into a tiger, and we're walking into the tiger den. Shouldn't he just be able to ask his daughter outright, do you want to know if I'm your biological father or not? Like, does it matter? Because it matters to me. The fact that he can't even go to her straight up to figure out that, the fact that she wouldn't even want to know, tells you everything. You don't need to be within 1,000 miles of these people. Any of them. Any of them. How could she not want to know if he's actually her real father? How? Because she's too far in. She's down the rabbit hole. She's with them. She knows her mother was wrong for taking her brother out of rehab and dumping him off in an unsupervised environment known for heroin and cocaine. She remembers lying for her mother all her life, so it would not surprise her to hear if the DNA did not match. Why would she not want to know for sure? Why? My struggle in doing this is because I still have empathy for this daughter, even though she's still been a flying monkey and very destructive to me at times. Sometimes knowingly, sometimes not. I've still done my best to love her like my own until recently when I had to go low contact. Regardless of how I feel, she was raised by an extremely toxic mother. She's got no help that I'm aware of, and she shares some disturbingly similar characteristics. She knew her father was done wrong, and she even ended her own relationship with her child's father because he too was a lying cheater. She knows her dad has done nothing to warrant being ostracized from the family other than make his own choices that the golden child disapproves of. So I fault her for being a flying monkey in whatever degree she's operating in, and I would not trust her to assist in this process. She'd be betraying her mother, something she's never done. You can't betray the narcissist, and that's just the problem that nobody understands with the flying monkey. You can't betray the narcissist. There's no, what do you mean betraying a toxic monster like this, which the daughter knows her father did nothing wrong, and yet she does nothing about it. Sorry. She's a grown-ass woman with 4 kids of her own. Sorry. The pity, the empathy you give for her needs to be on your husband, because this is what he has. Needs to be reserved and given to your husband, because this is what he has as a daughter. Nobody will stand up for him. Nobody's gonna stand up for him. Any attempt for him to assert anything with these people is going to blow up miserably. They don't care about facts. They don't care. They don't care about facts. They don't care about truth. They don't care. The rehab facilities have to have it. Have to have his blood work. They must. She'd be betraying her mother for something she's never done, yet I struggle with putting her in that position. It feels like abuse of trust. Yeah. What about abuse of her father, huh? There's always the option of just asking for something else. I just believe that would end the possibility of ever finding out the truth. There's also the option of just letting it go. But that's how we got here in the first place. I'm really hoping you don't say we just need to let it go. You know that's what I'm going to say. That's why you're writing it. That's why you're writing it, because you want the slap in the face. You want the slap in the face. You can't win with these people. Even if he's going to... See, the problem is, if you were telling me he was doing it for his peace of mind... If he truly believes like what you said in the last letter, and I remember in the last letter, he said, it doesn't really matter if they're mine because they raised them as my own. And in this one, you're talking about her being cornered, the mother, like, you're doing it for the... Let it go at this point. Here's what you should ask for. I would go right to his daughter and say, I need some of your DNA. I need to know. And if she says no, that's it. Done. 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 If she can't do that for him, and you have to go through all these ruses to find out if you, then sorry, you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And he said, like, it won't change anything as far as our relationship and how I feel. I just need to know if I was lied to. I just need to know. If she can't do that for you, gone. I think she should be gone anyway. Gone. Gone. All of them. Let it go. I'm sending this to you with my husband's approval. It took him a while to appreciate you after your first response, but you seem to have accomplished what I've been trying to do for years unsuccessfully. Wake him up out of the fog. Well, if you're listening, listen, as one alienated father to another, I get it. I get it, man. But you're going to have to face the reality of who your daughter probably is. If you can't go, if your daughter knows the truth, like my daughter knows the truth, and she can't do this for you, and she's got to go, and you got to let it all go, and you got to just accept what you got to accept at this point. I can't believe there's no blood work at the rehab. I can't believe that. There has to be. There has to be. Was he arrested? Was he on probation? Was there blood testing? Was there drug testing for that? All of that. In case I'm not really clear, we're at the point where, in order to find the truth, it seems to me we're faced with either the option of trusting the untrustworthy or going balls to the wall. I'm scared to even hit send, but thank you in advance for your unfiltered thoughts, as always, Donna. No reason to be scared to hit send, Donna. But look, all this show, all this you're going through to try to prove something that they're never going to admit to, that's only going to end up blowing up in your faces, because it's always going to blow. It doesn't matter. These people spend a lifetime calculating and lying and planning. If this happens, if that happens, if this happens. They got responses for everything. And it gets to a point where, yeah, unfortunately, you have to let it go. If you can't go to your daughter with 4 children at this point and say, hey, I need to get to the bottom of this, then you need to let it go and move on with your life and move away from all these people, because you can't change any of it, any of them. The whole family, it's been the whole family against your husband, against you. Think a DNA sheet's going to change it? Everybody knows she's been a lying whore the whole time. Everybody knows this. This isn't new information. You think a piece of paper from a DNA company is going to change any of that? Or you're just going to be a sick liar, disgusting, turned against it? It's what's going to happen. You're not going to get what you think you need out of it. You're going through all of this, I think, because you don't want to face the reality of your daughter telling you, no, fuck you, I don't give a shit. That's why you're going. And you can't avoid the truth. And I think that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to do an end around to get to the truth. You can't do that. You're trying to avoid where your answer's right pretty much in your daughter. You can't go to your daughter and ask her this. Okay? That's the question you're really afraid to ask. Because that truth is going to be the most damaging to you. So, I hope that helps. Thank you, Donna, for another contribution and story. And your husband, too. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance.